So in case of SPI timing diagram, we will refer to another document from Analog Devices Incorporation. So this is a document from Analog Devices and called Analog Dialogue Introduction to SPI Interface. So you can refer to this particular document in detail, where whatever I told you actually can be found also in this particular document. So we will straightway jump to the timing waveform for SPI mode 0. So in mode 0 of SPI, so we can see that chip select or slave select bar is first made 0, and then during so this green line indicates, or green line indicates the starting point, and this another one represents the ending point for a given frame of SPI. Now the orange line shows the sampling instance, whereas the blue line shows data basically setup instance. Okay. So in SPI mode 0, clock polarity is 0 and phase is also 0. And the idle state, that means the idle state of the clock is logic 0. That means the clock remains at logic 0 when there is no communication, and data sampled on the rising edge, that means during the rising edge of the clock, data is actually sampled, which is from COPI or CIPO, or which is also called MOSI or MISO. So during the rising edge of the clock, so whatever data is available on either of the data lines gets sampled, whereas any change in the data, if you want to do, that happens during the falling edge. For example, there is a falling edge here, so there is no change, although so after the falling edge, so definitely you can change your data immediately after the falling edge. Okay, it's not always possible that you will align to this falling edge. So more practical one is that after the falling edge there is a little bit of delay, after which you can actually make your data to transition. Okay, and after the transition it takes certain settling time, and that's why the lower part of the clock in mode 0 is used for. And so during the lower part of the clock, or phase logic 0 part of the clock, you can set up your data, and then during the rising edge again you are sampling the data, and this happens for 8 times until you, and then afterwards you can reduce or increase the chip select to 1. Now this MISO line, as I said, this is CIPO line I was talking about, so they should be tri-stated. That is called high impedance state. That means it is switched off. If there is no chip select, this MISO line gets switched off internally. Likewise, you can see the modes, the timing signal for mode 1, where clock phase equal to 1 and clock polarity equal to 0. In this case, clock idle state is again low, data sampled on the falling edge, whereas shifted on the rising edge. Just opposite. So look at this orange curve now. The orange curve comes to the falling edge of the clock signal, and during the falling edge the data is sampled, and during the rising edge or immediately after the rising edge, the data is actually set up, or even before the rising edge also it could be possible. So basically after the falling edge, anytime after the falling edge, you can actually set up the data. So it's not necessary exactly should be aligned at the rising edge, but it may be slightly before or after. Okay, so both are possible in this in SPI communication. It depends how the hardware is designed inside the microcontroller or your peripheral devices. Okay, and in case of mode 2, where both polarity and phase are both 1, in such case you are actually going to use, or not, you are going to actually unuse the first half of the clock cycle. So in this case the idle state is high and data sampled during the falling edge. So idle state is high, and during the first falling edge data doesn't get sampled. In fact, during the second falling edge only the data gets sampled, so that is mode 2. And during the first rising edge, so data is getting actually set up, or it is shifted to the data line, whether it is MOSI or MISO or COPI or CIPO lines. Similar thing happens for 8 consecutive edges of sampling, and after that the clock goes to logic 1 and stays idle, and then during that time if chip select is disabled. For mode 3 again it will be slightly different than mode 2. So in this case polarity is 1, phase is 0. So the rising edge actually you samples data, the idle state is logic 1, and again we are actually not using the first falling edge in this case. So in this case data is sampled during the rising edge and shifted on the falling edge. So it is just opposite to the mode 2, where mode 2 falling edge was sampled and here the rising edge is sampled in mode 3. Okay, so you can read this particular document and see that how we connect several SPI devices. So this is a practical example where a microcontroller is driving multiple slave devices. In this case the terms are slightly different, so you can see SCK or SCLK, so it is again the same, and SDI, SDO are the lines at the peripheral side, whereas the MOSI or COPI are the line on the microcontroller side, whereas MISO or CIPO are from the microcontroller side. So serial data input SDI, serial data output SDO, and these are all unidirectional lines. So this is one way to connect multiple slaves by using individual chip select lines. Okay, so there are multiple CS bar signals connected. And you can also do daisy chaining, where SDO of one microcontroller or one peripheral is connected to SDI of the next peripheral. So this is daisy chaining method that we had already studied. So they gave some more examples from their product portfolio. You can look at the data sheets of these devices, and then you can try to understand what exactly they are trying to do over here. Now, some advantages and disadvantages of SPI communication. SPI is faster than asynchronous protocol. Typically, it works very easily up to several megahertz. And the hardware for SPI is quite simple because you don't have to identify start and stop bit and sample at the middle. So those things we can get rid of in SPI because everything is sampled with respect to clock edges. And then it supports multiple peripherals, which in UART there was only one peripheral, RXT of one microcontroller going to TXT of the second device or microcontroller. So multi-peripheral communication was not straightforward in UART. Now disadvantages. So disadvantages is that it requires more signal lines, so it requires larger number of wires as compared to UART. Then communication must be well defined in advance. That means you have to determine the hardware architecture first. You cannot just plug and play with just like with any peripheral on the fly. And then the controller must control all the communication, so peripherals can't talk directly to each other. That means there is no basically peer-to-peer communication as such. That means the peripherals cannot discuss among themselves. And it generally requires separate chip select lines. That means it is a problem because lots of wires. If the number of peripherals are more, then the number of chip selects is also equal to the number of peripherals. That indicates lots of extra wires, which is a big problem.